If you struggle with persistent intrusive thoughts and negative emotions, then stay tuned, because in this video, we're going to talk about 2 approaches that you can take towards these things, when to use one and not the other, the ups and downsides of both, so that by the end of this video, you know what's going to work best for you and ultimately what's going to lead you to having a much better, happier relationship with yourself. When it comes to persistent intrusive thoughts or persistent negative emotions like anxiety and anger, there are 2 main approaches that are commonly talked about towards these things in self-help and therapy. And what I'm talking about here when I say approach is how you choose to respond to these things when they come up. So the first, and I believe the most common approach, is what we'll call the aggressive response. Now, the aggressive response is basically just getting really firm and tough with your response to these negative thoughts or emotions. So that aggressive response would look something like this. The intrusive thought or negative emotion comes up and you just respond to it with a zero tolerance attitude. And you say, no, we're not doing this again. I will not feel anxious about this thing anymore. I will not let this thought run my mind anymore. So you can pack up those intrusive thoughts and all the feelings that come with it and fuck off, because we ain't doing this again. So that's the aggressive response. And yes, that works well for a lot of people. And I think there's probably a time and place where that is the right response for any of us in certain situations. So let's go over some of the benefits. Some of the benefits of the aggressive response, in my opinion, are, I think first, it helps to build mental strength. Being able to just put your foot down hard like that and draw those lines in the sand, draw those solid boundaries of what you are and aren't willing to accept in your own mind. I think that helps to build mental strength, just being able to draw those boundaries and say, no, I will not accept this. I do think that helps to make you mentally stronger and make you better at setting those boundaries for yourself. It also helps you to draw that line of separation between you and your thoughts and emotions. Helps you to realize that these thoughts, these feelings that are coming up, they're not you and they're not facts. They're just things being presented to you by your brain, and you get to decide what to do with them. So if they're persistent intruders in your mental home, then you get to put your foot down and tell them to fuck off, and that can be very empowering. The next approach is what we'll call the compassionate response, and this one's less commonly used by people, but this is where you recognize that all of these negative emotions and intrusive thoughts are just your brain trying to look out for you and protect you. So instead of being mad at anxiety, you would see it more as your brain trying to keep you safe physically and emotionally. And with intrusive thoughts, you know, instead of seeing them as an attack on your mental peace, you see them more like a concerned parent who's looking out for you and saying, hey, have you thought about this? Or don't forget about these possible worst case scenarios, and so on. And you could see anger as a manifestation of self-worth. So say something happens to you that makes you angry, what that emotion is actually saying to you is, you don't deserve that. It's not fair that this thing happened to you. You're a good person and you don't deserve that. So you see, it's actually almost sticking up for you and coming at you from a place of self-love and self-worth. So you see, the foundation of the compassionate approach is just putting a positive spin on all of these classically negative mental and emotional experiences. So with that as the foundation, the compassionate response looks something like this. The intrusive thought or negative emotion comes up and you say, I know you're looking out for me, I know you're trying to protect me, and I know you're coming from a place of love, but it's okay, I've got this one. I see you and I appreciate you, but I've got this. So with love and respect, you can go. So I'll just quickly use anger as an example, because I think the compassionate response works really well with anger. So say somebody screws you over and that emotion of anger comes up and it's telling you, it's not fair, you didn't deserve that. You would respond to it something like this. You would say, look, I see you and I know you've got my back and you're telling me I didn't deserve that and you're sticking up for me, but it's okay. I know I didn't deserve that, but I've got this. I'm gonna choose to handle this like a calm, grounded person, because that's the type of person that I wanna be. So I respect you sticking up for me, but it's okay. We can let this feeling go. I've got this one. I know how I want to respond. So this is definitely an effective approach, and it's one that I like to use as much as possible, largely because I think it's actually a more accurate representation of what's going on. Your mind really is just trying to look out for you and protect you, at least most of the time, in my opinion. But let's talk about some of the other benefits of the compassionate response. So firstly, I would say it's more conducive to inner peace, because you're not at war with yourself. You're not drawing these lines of separation between one part of your mind and another and fighting with yourself. You're accepting and loving everything that's coming up in your mind and body and everything that you're experiencing mentally and emotionally. You're just making peace with yourself and just throwing acceptance and love at every single part of you. Another benefit is you're a lot more emotionally regulated and calm when you use the compassionate response, which is always a good thing. And look, there's a saying, whatever you resist will persist. And I think sometimes that's true with the aggressive response. By being so resistant to those thoughts and emotions, you can actually end up prolonging them and making the situation worse sometimes. And one last quick benefit of the compassionate response is the same as the aggressive response. It helps you to see that you are not your thoughts and emotions. It draws that line of separation and helps to show you, look, I am not these things. These things are not facts. They're just being presented to me by my brain and by my body, and I ultimately get to decide what I want to do with them. So that's the aggressive response and the compassionate response. And to sum up, it's completely up to you which one you use. The aggressive response is probably better for things like really harsh negative self-talk or intrusive thoughts that have persisted for a really long time. And the compassionate response is probably better for things like anxiety and anger, and really anytime you can get yourself emotionally regulated enough to use it. It's my personal favorite, but there is a time and place for both. Ultimately, there is no right, there is no wrong. It's completely up to you. But I hope this video helped you understand yourself better. I hope it helped you learn what response is going to work best for you. And ultimately, I hope you watching this leads to you having a better, happier relationship with yourself. If you like this video, please hit that like button and press subscribe. I'm going to be uploading 3 times a week, all self-help content, hopefully from cool places like this. So if that's your thing, hit subscribe and I'll see you in the next one.